Welcome to episode 9 of 22 Man Game with Jared and Dame. I'm Jared, that's Dame Un. We are so excited to be recording here at 7:47 p.m. on September the 23rd, a Tuesday right after week 3. In some ways, kind of a mundane week of football, and then right at the end, turned up the juice. How are you doing, Damon?
I'm doing wonderful because the Lions won 2-1, baby. Feeling good after that scary week one. Um, yeah, I think we expected the week to be mundane. That's what we previewed. We surprisingly had a lot of close games between maybe some mundane opponents, but we'll get into all of that. How are you?
I'm doing well. Had you over last night to enjoy Lions Ravens, which had a different result than I expected going into the season in all the right ways. Overall, was really excited. It was a great week to quad box and have like a game losing blocked kick and then a game winning kick. And or it was, I think, like the two blocks happening in like two different panels at the same time. Just ridiculous. So super fun and a lot for us to talk about with the games, and I'm excited for that for sure. The side question, by the way, I know you aren't like maybe as much of a long time Lions enjoyer. Does the name Theo Riddick mean anything to you?
Theo Riddick, linebacker?
That is a valid guess. He so
It's
he was a
like
running
sounds so
back, and
familiar. I was
I
gonna
say
say
this.
running back as my next guess. The name is familiar to me. Um,
Um, for the
but yeah,
camera,
no,
I have a Lego Theo Riddick, which
that's
to give
great.
you context on why that's funny, I would say that Theo Riddick for the Lions in the 2010s was roughly like a Samaje Perine kind of
Okay,
level of ball
yeah.
knowing in the sense that he was actually a pretty good pass catching running back in his time, but he
hmm
was still probably our number two, number three guy. And so really random to have a Lego made out of him. And in his rookie year, his number was 41, which for
Yeah,
running back,
that's
ugh,
that's ugly. That's an ugly one.
yeah.
Who was the primary back for most of his stint there?
My guess would be might have been like Joak Bell or Joik Bell, I think. In the like 20 teens. I know we had Reggie Bush. I feel like I was
Right.
reading about him. Maybe it was Amir Abdullah. It was like that rotating.
Yeah,
Um,
those are names I know. Reggie Bush and Amir Abdullah. The first guy you said I've never heard of. So, uh,
Bell was like a Detroit native, and he had like a really 1A 1B with Reggie Bush for a couple of years. I don't know, just kind of a fun Detroit lore name. But as I am now home from Ford Field, I wanted to show off some of my
there you
Lions
go. Yeah,
accoutrement.
the
So
new setup. Definitely got to tune into the video if you're used to seeing Jared at Ford Field because he's not there anymore. He moved.
yeah, I've
So
got some awesome memorabilia hiding behind my shoulders and two jerseys that in my Zoom camera look
right.
like they're backwards. So uh, I don't know
In
if you're
my
seeing
in
them.
my Zoom camera, they're normal, so you're good.
Okay, that's huge. That's huge for me.
Yeah,
It's bad. I'm like, oh man, this is yeah, I've got my Ziggy Ansah here, and then my old Lions jersey, Derek Barnes. I have a new Barnes jersey for our new unis, which I think are a big improvement.
oh yeah,
Um, Big week for uniforms, by the way. I'll
for
do my
sure.
best to call out when there's retro uniforms
hmm
attached to a game when relevant, because there were some great looks going on.
For sure.
All right, Whew. Let's dive into news real quick before we get into more just the football-y stuff. I wanted to mention former Bengals running back and briefly Lions running back Rudy Johnson passed away at 45. Police report indicated that he potentially took his own life, and his agent calling for increased investigation into CTE in connection with that. So unfortunate when any former player passes away. Obviously, difficult circumstances there, and he's the all-time single season rushing leader for the Bengals in one season. So probably sticks out in a lot of Bengals fans' memory, and unfortunate to see that he's passed.
Yeah, for sure. Never an easy thing to talk about, especially when it's potentially taking his own life, as you mentioned. I think, you know. unfortunately, CTE is obviously very real, has very real effects. We've seen it time and time again on players and their physical health, also in their mental health. Antonio Brown is an example of that, right? How he has kind of become a whole different person post NFL career.
Yeah.
So ultimately, though, I think the other unfortunate part is the NFL is obviously such a profitable organization, and football is such a popular sport in America and probably elsewhere that they're never gonna like stop playing it, right? So they just have to figure out safer ways to go about it. And we've seen things like the Guardian cap and such in recent years to try to combat that, but it'll never be perfect, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think if these traumatic head injuries had an instant impact on the players, like a noticeable instant impact, we would not still
Mhm.
be playing this game, at least not in the way that we do. But because CTE is something that is delayed and oftentimes takes effect after a lot of players leave the public eye, I definitely think it mutes what would otherwise be louder calls for change there. Again, not certain by any means. I have no knowledge as to whether CTE was involved in this particular incident, but either way, um, worth discussing when we're talking about mental health and football. Um, with that mentioned, we'll go ahead and move on to football news. I'm going to save that first item we have listed in a
Yeah.
minute. Uh, I'm going to start with the big news out of New York. Brian Dable, after getting pressured to make the change, has finally done it. Russell Wilson hitting the bench, and rookie quarterback Jaxson Dart, after only 3 games of Russ, taking over as the starter for the Giants in week 4 against the Chargers.
Yeah. um it's interesting. I saw the press release about them asking him, is Russell going to be your starter in week 4? And he just kept saying, like, I can't confirm, can't confirm, can't confirm. Didn't really, go either way, but finally announced that deal. Strange, Russ had a whatever, I would say, week 1, an amazing week 2 against the Cowboys. And then this week, I really struggled out there against the Chiefs. So just like that, the opportunity falls into Jackson Dart's hands.
Yeah, I think we're getting indication that it might be more of a Cowboys thing than a Giants thing that they had such a successful week 2, and seeing how Sunday Night Football felt like such a wet blanket. I am not surprised at the assessment that the offense needs to change. And if you're a Giants fan, probably much more exciting to see the new guy suit up than a creaky Russell Wilson at this point in his career. So yeah, well, we'll see what the twilight of his career looks like. Definitely one of the great QBs of the 2010s, and has a chance at the Hall of Fame, though I think what we've seen in recent years may put a damper on that.
Yeah, I think the Super Bowl certainly helps, but who knows? The Super Bowl that they lost also doesn't help.
Yeah, if he had won two, I feel like it'd kind of be a no-brainer. But um, and also that team had such a defensive reputation, it didn't really feel
Hmm.
like it was about Russ. Um, but would not be the was Russell Westbrook ever in, like, where did he start his career? OKC,
Yeah.
right? I For some reason my brain goes Seattle Supersonics and then pictures OKC in the Pacific Northwest, and I was going to be like, oh, tough break for two Russes in the Pacific Northwest, but one of them was in the Deep South, so never mind.
He's still, technically that team is still in the Northwest Division in basketball because basketball divisions don't matter at all. So,
So true. Just like how in the 1990s the NFL had like differently shaped divisions. I think they had 3 divisions, 5 teams each per conference. And it was the NFC North and Tampa in the NFC Central. So
yes, of course.
truly, it's truly the league. The league is a creative thing, no doubt. Anyway, tell us about this apparel deal that's going to change the feet of NFL fans forever.
Yeah, I saw this and I had to put it because I'm a Croc truther, but NFL announced a multi-year deal with Crocs. What does that mean? Probably sponsored NFL themed Crocs for every team. I would imagine that's kind of what that looks like. So you can get your favorite team's Crocs because otherwise, Crocs would get sued if they tried to do something like that without permission. And I don't know, how funny would it be if, like, on the sideline when players put down the helmet and put on the hat, they also slip off the shoes and throw on the Crocs for a little bit until they get back out there in the field?
It'd be entertaining. I think there's like an over under on two coaches who wear them on the sideline this year.
Or like in the
Uh
press conferences or something, you know?
yeah. That'd be crazy. I mean, they'll do a lot of those like I know the Lions anyway will do those kind of candid question videos where they're in the
Right.
facility and it'll be like, "Oh, do you like lemons or limes?" And then all the characters, all the players will be dressed casual. I imagine we'll see a few Crocs there. I remember sending you and Dom the what $80 pair of Lions Crocs, which are I don't think very attractive
Yeah.
as footwear, but you can get some team themed gibbets, I'm sure.
There you
The
go.
little
Good
buddies you
pull.
stick on
Yes.
those.
Yeah, I know what they're I'm like I feel like I'm one of the only people that know they're called that.
I can you say the next news item while I look for something in real time?
All right, Jared's looking for something in real time, so I can announce the best news of the day. Cardi B is going to have a Cardi baby with Stefon Diggs. Apparently, she announced that she was pregnant with his child. And while Jared is looking for this item, I did want to ponder Stefon Diggs and his kind of tumultuous career, I think, how he's handled himself with organizations, or at least reportedly handled himself in certain situations, does not strike me as the role model father figure. But hopefully that is not the case. And also, there was the boat stuff and the pink stuff. What's in the bag? It's just a strange time to be announced a soon-to-be father. But I wish them nothing but the best, of course, for the Cardi baby.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of overshadowed Stefon Diggs as a player a little bit at this point. Obviously his appearance at the Met Gala drew some attention, and now this news about Cardi B in a year where I have not seen him make any jaw-dropping plays with Drake May. It
Still been limited
definitely
coming back from that ACL.
that's true. That's true. We could see him come on in the second half of the season. Um, but there we go. Sorry, I had to go look for this because I'd forgot that my mother had sent me this Detroit Lions gibbet that used to be in my Crocs as a child.
Let's go.
And it was
Crazy that
just
you
too
owned
related.
Crocs as a child. Wow.
I think I had purple Crocs if I'm not
I
mistaken.
don't think Crocs existed when I was a child, so.
Uh, Damon and I are from different generations, so
I'm actually
we
17 years older than Jared, so.
I mean, yeah, we met at work and we really hit it off. And Damon's in his early 40s, and I just reached 25. So,
Right.
I mean, not to
Not
say
true,
that
by
you
the way.
can't. It's not
29.
true.
29.
Not to say you couldn't have that kind of friendship, but I feel like it's a little atypical.
Right.
And either way, let's roll along now that I've absorbed so much of our time looking for
Now that
David.
we've done the two most important news items back to back, we can talk about football, I guess.
Yeah.
Ah,
For fans who want my full take on Cardi B, I'll be dropping a 70-minute analysis of the baby reveal
on the
alongside
Patreon.
on the Patreon alongside my 90-minute analysis of the caption, the engagement photos from the Taylor and Travis situation. Um, with that said, there was a contract signed this week. Safety Darnell Savage signing with the Commanders after being released by the Jaguars last week. Definitely a name I was surprised to see get cut. Was there any rationale behind the cut? Did he ask to be released? What was the deal there?
The Jaguars don't know what they're doing, so this makes sense.
The number two in the AFC South Jaguars don't know what they're doing. How dare you
That's
say that?
yeah, they've had an interesting path to the season so far. And to be fair, they do have, I mean, they've had their fair share of kind of stalwart defensive players in this generation. Obviously right now I would say it's, Josh Hines Allen, but in the past we've had Jalen Ramsey, of course, start there. Yannick Ngakoue was a big player there for a while. They kind of have guys roll through. So they do evaluate defensive talent well, is the point that I'm making. But Darnell Savage, how can you cut a guy with such a cool name?
That is a great name, and especially I think for the safety
Yeah.
position, you want safety and linebacker, you want a Savage type name in
Hmm.
there. So I feel like a solid pickup for the Commanders. At the very least, someone worth taking a flyer on. And yeah, the Jags have been pretty good at assessing defensive talent, and maybe they just have some younger guys they want to see more of.
I think the amount of bad secondary defense I've watched this year, and that could be because of the games that I keep hitting on our wheel. Um, get more people. Just get more guys in there. So
Yeah,
when they're you're watching the guy get burned over and over again, you're like, well, let me try this guy. Let me just throw somebody else out there.
yeah, I feel like the secondary and like the offensive line are two positions where somehow there just aren't
Mm,
enough good players at those
yeah.
positions.
Yeah.
And then there's like 100 starting caliber wide receiver twos, it's interesting.
Right. Right.
Um, I just yeah, I swear if I'm young and large and I have a chance to get into this sport, man, I just start rapping at guard like crazy. Um, because
For sure.
some team needs someone. There was speaking of secondary moves, actually, this one was a little interesting. The Jets acquire former Titans starting cornerback Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and a 2026 seventh rounder for a 2026 sixth rounder going back to Tennessee. Brownlee currently injured for the Titans. This is another James Wiseman situation, but apparently started all 17 last season or close to it. Was sort of the fill in for L'Jarius Sneed when he wasn't available for Tennessee. So maybe they just saw that the writing was on the wall with his injury keeping him out much of the season. But if you got a young player who's getting a lot of starting reps, even if they're injured, I would keep that player around as depth. As we were just saying, there aren't enough good secondary players to go around, so kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Jets are another team that have always had pretty respectable secondary players, at least in recent memory. Yeah, the guy's 24. Why not keep him around for when he is healthy? Because it's not like the Titans have this elite secondary. They have a pretty good defense so far this year, though.
Yeah, they've definitely got some guys. I guess I mean again, it's not like they got a fifth rounder for him or something. You
Right.
move up around. I actually think it's pretty savvy for the Jets. Move down around and get a guy who's had some starting potential. And you make a good point too. I mean, the Jets have a long history of strong defensive back play with Aaron Glenn, right? And then you've got Darrell Revis more recently and Sauce. So who knows? Maybe Glenn sees something in him.
Yes, sirree. Are you ready for week 3? Are you ready to talk about all the things we witnessed?
Let's do the recap. It's great because we definitely both got really exciting marquee matchups in our wheel game, so I'm excited to talk about those first.
Absolutely. Yeah, but first, let's mention 7 games this week had a game-winning score occur in the final 3 minutes, which is the most amount of games in the same week since the 1970 merger of the AFL and NFL. So that is huge. That's a lot of games.
Yeah, and a ton of blocked kicks as well. I feel like it was like tied for the most in a day or maybe second most, but truly an astonishing number of block kicks in these decisive moments. We're going to get to those games. I actually had one of them. But first, just to give, if you're a new listener, every week we spin a wheel. We each get a team off of that wheel. And it's our responsibility to watch that team's game and provide some commentary on what jumps out to us and how we would maybe give thoughts on their season, any players that look exciting, whatever really grabs our attention. And so let's start with your wheel game, Damon. Why don't you take us through this absolute absolute banger of a matchup?
Yeah, 3 weeks in a row, I've just had this elite matchup. This week, it was Seahawks Saints. Oh boy,
Woo!
what a fabulous game this was. that I spent my entire 3:25 p.m. afternoon slot watching.
Yeah.
So final score, Seahawks 44, Saints 13. An absolute blowout, as you could probably imagine. Seahawks were firing on all cylinders as soon as the game kicked off. They went up 21-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game. Before the first quarter was even close to being over, the game already felt over. A lot of that was good defense on the Seahawks' part. Their defense has looked pretty good this year, but I don't know if it's because they have these astounding players. I mean, they have guys like Tariq Woolen, for example, that I like, and I like their scheme and what I've seen so far when I've watched them. But they've played the Saints this week. They played the Steelers, which is not really an offense that I super believe in. And they also played the 49ers in week one and held them to a respectable amount. But 49ers have also been pretty banged up on the offense as well. So it's not like they've played a Ravens or a Lions or this kind of great offensive team. So I can't tell if their defense is actually good or they're just kind of good at preying on their relatively mediocre opponents so far. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I wanted to point out, looked really good in this game as kind of an interesting model of a receiver because he's not Tyreek Hill, he's not like crazy fast, and he's not Calvin Johnson where he's huge and catches everything. But he is a very, very good route runner, very like good on his cuts and his steps, get where he needs to go, find his holes in coverage, etc. Be in the right place at the right time, and then be able to make that possession catch in kind of a tight window, um, which is obviously very important. Seems like he is already Sam Darnold's favorite target. Sam Darnold was fine. Um, so that's what I watched from the Seahawks. I mean, I got 1/4 of a game, and then it was a blowout. And Jalen Milroe came in for a bit. Drew Lock came in for a bit. Uh, yeah, they started throwing out the backup running backs. It was just like, okay, this is. At some point, it did not become useful to watch this anymore, but I still did. The other end, Saints Rattler looks like an average starting quarterback. Doesn't look really bad, like I would worry about, like some quarterbacks did this week. Looking at you, Jake Browning. But he looked fine. Threw the ball like 40 times, which makes sense because they were so behind for most of this game. Targets so far this season, targeting Olave a ton, targeting Juwan Johnson, tight end a ton. No one else is really getting a ton of reps on that offense. Those seem to be kind of his comfort throws right now. And their defense, as you might imagine, is not good. As I was watching this game, not a ton of pressure that they could get on Darnold. They ended up with 0 sacks, but aside from just the sack number, it seemed like he kind of was just in there all day in the pocket, kind of doing whatever he wanted. Obviously, no turnovers as well. Just couldn't really stop the Seahawks on any level of their defense. They did hold Kenneth Walker to like a pretty mediocre yards per carry average, but I feel like part of that is because the Seahawks were winning so fast that they ran the ball pretty quickly, and it was like, okay, we know what they're going to do. Let's load the box. Because they're not really afraid of Sam Darnold killing them over the top. So yeah, not the greatest game to get on the wheel for, you know, relative meaningful observation, but I watched it.
Your service is much appreciated in these dark times. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's tough because, you're watching for the Seahawks and there's not a lot you can glean in a game that's so out of hand so quickly, right? The game script was so in their favor from start to finish that I imagine, what does their resilience look like? Who knows? They were leading by three scores, in the blink of an eye. But I do think the Saints, I want them to trade their veterans away so that some cool players can be on some cool teams before the twilight of their careers. Cam Jordan still playing for the Saints?
Yes, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, a couple of very old players on that defense.
I think Roger Goodell, I think the league should have a protocol where they can offer like a compensatory third round pick to a team to force them to trade their veterans away.
Mm.
If I just feel like the Saints core at the end of Breeze when they were like really competitive up against the Vikings and the Minneapolis Miracle and like
Hmm.
I don't know, they had such a swagger to them and to see a lot of those veterans now on a team that got waxed by the Sam Darnold Seahawks, it bums me out a little bit, even if the Seahawks are a quality team.
Feeling pretty good about my 1-16 Saints prediction before
That's
the season
looking
right
tight right
now.
now. I hate to say it, and the Saints look kind of competitive week one, but man, I don't know. I mean,
Tyler
yeah,
Shuck
I
threw two passes. He came in and threw two passes. He didn't complete either of them.
it's a tough it's tough for Shuck. Rattler's locking up that job.
Apparently.
Um, who gets to be captain of the sinking ship? That's the big question in
Yeah.
New Orleans. Um, I'll jump into my wheel game. This one
Equally
ended up being
exciting.
yeah. This one ended up being sneaky close. This was Bucks Jets. I was watching the Bucks pull out the last second win, 29-27. This was a game that I was watching in concurrence with some other games, and at the start of the third quarter, it just kind of felt like, oh, Bucks are the better team. This isn't really going to be a contest that I need to be super monitoring. And then suddenly the Jets are leading the game by one. With I was looking at the play-by-play today. I think 90 seconds left. So a massive or some very little time left. So the Jets not able to close this game out, but massive special teams play. Will McDonald jumps the line, blocks a kick, recovers it, returns it for a touchdown to put the Jets up by one after the extra point, and that's what gave us that photo finish. All of that said, how did the Bucks look? Well, it's important to understand that the Bucks have an incredibly depleted offensive line. Tristan Wirfs, their left tackle, has not been available. Right guard Cody Mock out for the year with a knee injury, and right tackle Luke Gedeke is on IR with a foot injury. So missing three starters, and I would say both Wirfs and Gedeke. I can't say as much to Mock, but two very solid tackles. Wirfs a very good tackle in his case, and so a significantly depleted offensive line and the ramifications for that showed immediately. The Buccaneers had five holding penalties on the first drive alone, seven total in the game from what I counted. That's very bad. And not all of the holds were on the line. I believe there were maybe two of those were on the wide receivers at least, but um, not a penalty that you want to be committing consistently. Yes, it's the same down, but losing 10 yards normally kills a drive. Two of these holding penalties came back to back. And the only reason the Bucks were able to actually, I think no. Now that I remember, two separate instances on that five holding drive were two holding penalties in a row. So
Mm.
it was holding, then holding, and that's losing 20 yards. The only reason they were able to get to field goal range was because of a pass interference penalty on the Jets, giving them a fresh set of downs. And yeah, I mean, they were effectively taken out of field goal position, or sorry, the red zone goal line by those penalties and forced to kick the field goal. So I'll really be watching for those penalties from this team going forward. The defense, from what I saw, looked pretty decently disruptive as I was going back over the box score. Jets only 1 for 3 on fourth down, which to me is typically the sign of a strong defensive front. I know at least one of those was a rush attempt that was stymied by the Bucks, so they look disruptive in that respect. Game-changing defensive backs, Antoine Winfield forcing a fumble, and then you had Jamel Dean pick six right at the end of the first half. He just totally anticipated
Yeah.
Tyrod's throw and just caught it fully in stride, dead sprint to the end zone. Um, so they pulled it out again. I'm worried about these Bucks against an elite team, and I think this matchup against the Eagles we're going to see in Week 4 will be a really good barometer for how good this team actually is. They are 3-0 for I believe the first time since 2005. Those wins have come against the Jets, who are 0-3, the Texans, who are 0-3, and the Falcons, who are 1-2. and coming off of a game we'll get to later that doesn't inspire much confidence in them as a squad. So still
No.
waiting to see the Bucks put together a truly elite performance, and until we do, I'll be a little worried about my prognostication of them playoffs wise. A couple other things I do want to note: Jets linebacker Quincy Williams placed on IR. Wide receiver Mike Evans exited the game with a hamstring injury, will miss 3 to 4 weeks. Um, and in his stead slash alongside him, I thought Sterling Shepard and Emeka Egbuka as sort of going into the season, maybe as those wide receiver 2, 3 spot, 3, 4 once Godwin gets back. They were surprisingly effective. Shepard 4 catches, 80 yards, and then Egbuka looks like the same player we've been seeing the first 2 weeks and looks like a real steal for them. So they've got talent defensively and offensively. These O-line injuries concern me against a stronger defense than the Jets up the middle, even with Quinn Williams being an impact player. So we'll see coming down the pike, but another win for the Bucks. Week 4 will be a big test.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I believe I saw a stat something like first time in NFL history or in a really long time that a team has gone or started 3-0 while winning every game in like the last 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
Because they got game-winning scores in all of their 3 games so far, going down the stretch, which is, I
crazy.
mean, that's a good sign, right? If you can operate in those clutch situations. But like you mentioned, none of these teams are elite or anything like that. So we'll see how they have fare against a better team. I do want to mention Tyrod Taylor did lead for the Jets as the quarterback, with Justin Fields being on concussion protocol. So take that for what it's worth for the Bucks defense in that game. I believe I also saw Tristan Wirfs, Chris Godwin are expected to play this upcoming week for the Bucks. So that'll be a big help for their offense too. And yeah, Sterling Shepard, I got a soft spot for him when I was a fake Giants fan for a little bit. So, you know, I like him.
Yeah, I was happy to see him getting some good receptions and looked like he had a really good relationship with Baker. I kept hoping Mike Evans was making those catches because Mike Evans is on my fantasy team. And I'm like, oh, Sterling Shepard, okay, go off. Um,
Right.
and yeah, definitely good for them to get Wirfs back. Hopefully he can kind of stabilize some of the line play there, though I imagine coming off injury, he might not be at 100% coming this Sunday. So
Yeah.
uh, let's jump on to the next contest.
Yeah, another game worth talking about. Jaguars beat the Texans 17-10. And oh boy, the Texans, like you said, 0-3 to start the year. Now, to their credits, a week 1 close loss against the Rams. We think the Rams are a pretty good football team. A week 2 close loss against the Bucks, who are 3-0. But this game is a game that you have to win as somebody who is supposed to lead the charge in the AFC South. I think the big problem for me when I watch this game is probably CJ Stroud. It's probably a CJ Stroud conversation. It's kind of their offense as a whole, but obviously the quarterback is someone to lead that charge. I think Nico Collins is an elite wide receiver. I would put him up there in like top 10, top 15 conversations for that. And then I think the supporting cast around him, pass catcher wide, is not, not just schmucks out there. I know Dalton Schultz is a little past his prime, but he's a fine tight end. Noah Brown, I think, is still there too. Uh, they have rookie Jaden Higgins. Is that his name? I think that's his name.
Yeah,
Um,
Jaden Higgins. I think Noah Brown is in Washington, but
you know
yeah,
what? I'm not
Jaden.
thinking of Noah Brown. I'm thinking of a different tight end. That name escapes me. It's like a guy that I feel like has been on the Texans forever, and he's like always their backup tight end.
I'm working on it.
Um,
Go ahead.
but yeah, and Noah Brown is like a totally different player. I don't even know what I'm talking about. And the defense looked pretty good, honestly. I think their pass rush has been good time and time again as the weeks have gone on. Of course, Will Anderson leading the charge there. Well, worth noting, they released C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That was announced earlier today. He has played 96% of their defensive snaps at starting safety.
96. Wow. Okay.
So that's a role they're going to have to fill. I was reading into it a little bit, and basically he was unhappy, shocker, as he has been at many stops in his career, about the way he was utilized, something about wanting to blitz more. And then I guess those conversations were not going well, and he said, "All right, that's it, trade me." And they said, "Actually, we'll just release you." So that's that. 3 weeks into the season, you're starting safety out the door.
Here's my prediction. There's going to be talk about who he'll sign with for most of the season, and then in like week 16, he'll sign with the Eagles who traded him to the Texans. He'll ramp
Hmm.
up for a couple weeks and then just be like a playoffs reliever for them.
Hmm.
Just seems like an Eaglesy thing to do. Yeah, the Texans offense is so bad. It's just really, really bad.
Anemic,
Going
that's the
back,
word I'd use.
anemic is a great term for it. Holy smokes. I went back through the game log for this as well because I had this up when I had Bucks Jets up and was listening to the audio from this game for a while because I cannot stand, with all due respect, Jonathan Vilma, who, after calling the Lions last week, was calling Bucks Jets this week. They just weren't. I mean, there were turnovers by both teams, and the Jags didn't capitalize very well on those. But the Texans' offense was miserable, and the touchdown they scored was a one play drive that was just a 50-yard touchdown pass. It looked like coverage completely broke down for Jacksonville. And for every other drive they had this game, they had every other play on offense amounted to 3 total points, right? If I were a Texans defender, it would be hard for me not to lose my cool right now, just in the sense that, um, yeah, 17 doesn't look like a world beating number, but I personally think if you hold the team I feel like I remember reading somewhere they were like, oh, if you hold them to under 21, and that's kind of a number that I rely on. If it's 21 or less, you should be able to put up 3 touchdowns and beat that team. The Jaguars are not world beaters. Again, they do have some defensive talent. I saw Trayvon Walker pick up a sack in this game. Obviously, Josh Hines Allen, but it's not like the Jaguars have had a reputation the last 3 years of being a super strong team. And this was a must-win game. Right now, you're 0-3, 0-1 in the division against one of the teams who may actually compete for the division title now. So brutal, brutal loss for the Texans, and I don't want to say their season's over, but they would need to turn up the Jets real quick.
Arch Manning to the Texans. What? Um,
Oh, that'd be interesting. Oh, that'd be so interesting, wouldn't it?
no, that I don't even think that guy's very good, but that's a different
That's fair too.
story.
Yeah. Also, CJ
I did
Stroud,
want
I
to.
feel like
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I think CJ's probably not as much the problem as some of the other things around him, I would guess. But
He
it
just
might
had
also
such
be
that a
yeah,
rock star rookie year, and then kind of a sophomore slump, and then year three is not looking good so far.
it's fair.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do. I did want to mention the other side, the other team. We didn't talk about the Jags
Mhm.
offense a lot. Um, Brian Thomas Jr. had like 3 drops in this game. Not great. He still looks like he has no rapport with Trevor Lawrence. He is not really being utilized in a meaningful way. I believe Travis Hunter played more defensive snaps in this game than he has yet this season. It seems like he's starting to go that way and less receiver. That's interesting, I guess. Their backfield is still kind of ETN is the guy, and then Tootin, and then LaQuint Allen is in for some reason sometimes. It's a weird team. Weird Jaguars team. Trevor Lawrence has been CJ Stroud for 6 years, so we'll see.
Yeah. I yeah, Tootin scored a touchdown in this game, not like a huge rumbling one, but he got one. That's interesting. I feel like when you draft someone with the explosive reputation of Travis Hunter, you'd see more of that explosion on offense, or at the very least, like the best case scenario is going to be more maybe explosive on offense than defense. But uh, if he's settling into that side of the ball and starts to be a difference maker, then I'll have to shut up. So we'll see there. I would say this next game we're going to talk about here was the marquee matchup this week, both coming in and then also in the outcome. It was an electric one as well.
Yeah.
This was the Eagles and the Rams. Eagles win the game 33-26, which is a little deceptive. It was 27-26 until the final snap of the game. So how did this one end, Damon?
Yeah, what a crazy game to have on. And early in this game, the Rams were leading, and I was like, I said last week, the Rams are going to win this game. I think they're better than the Eagles, and I was looking pretty good. And then the Eagles started clawing
Yep.
their way back. And then the Rams were going to kick a game-winning field goal. It was so awesome. And then that field goal was blocked, and Jordan Davis returned it all the way to the opposite end zone for a touchdown for the Eagles on the last play, just adding insult to injury and widening that scoring margin a little bit. People out there that bet on like the over-unders for points scored and stuff probably really hated that at the very end of the game. But yeah, just another crazy inning, another block kick, like you mentioned, and ultimately a game that didn't seem like it was competitive for the first half or so, and then the Eagles kind of started coming on late to make it a contest, and then somehow won, being I think 19-1 in their last 20 games or something like that.
That's insane. I didn't have as much of a view on this one. I was a little more locked in on the Jets Bucks, and then Browns Packers was holding my attention
Yeah, I was
for
very
obvious
locked
reasons.
into Saints Seahawks during this as it was my game of the week on the wheel, of course.
Eagles Rams was before the Saints Seahawks.
Oh, was it noon? Was it a noon game?
It was a noon.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a noon. So
then I just had Red Zone on, so
fair enough. I will say the crazy thing is that the Rams had two blocked kicks in the fourth quarter. The first one wasn't returned for anything.
mm.
But again, essentially two chances to put the game out of reach, both blocked by the Eagles, and then one of them returned for
You think any of
a
these blocked
touchdown.
kicks had leverage on
It's fascinating because
them?
like I'd have to assume like it was so strange that after a week where we see a leveraging penalty fundamentally alter the game, all of these plays that really feel like leveraging would have helped those plays be made
Right.
occur across the league. It's just interesting. I mean, I will say Will McDonald's block I was watching, and it looked like he just got a clean leap.
That one was clean. Yeah, I do remember watching that at the end of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. So,
Oh,
uh,
but before we totally get off of that, you hinted at it a little bit earlier. The Bucks' awesome uniforms, week 3.
oh,
Oh, so
creamsicle.
good.
Just I think if there's a jersey for a team that is not the Lions, that I'd be like, yes, I want that jersey. Bucks creamsicle.
It's a great
Um,
one.
Addie, my girlfriend, and I were debating whether the face, like the Buccaneer with the sword in the mouth,
Yeah,
logo is cool. I think it's sick.
it's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm down for him. He's very mischievous, swashbuckling, and
good
I'm a fan.
pronunciation there.
Oh, thank you. Gotta make sure I and then see that. And as you said, oh, I have to mention this. I remembered something very vividly that I wanted to mention, and then totally
And then
for.
I
Oh,
totally
I got it.
derailed
I
you.
got it. Backup tight end for the Texans, Harrison Bryant. Um,
That's not who I was thinking of. That guy used to be in the Browns. I know who that is. Um, how do I know that?
I,
I don't know.
were you think? I know you weren't. Were you thinking Brendan Bates?
Nope. I don't know who it is. Hold on. I'll now I will research
Okay,
to
sweet.
figure out who this guy I was thinking of was. I totally forgot that we even talked about that. So, to your creamsicle point, jersey I would want to own other than a Lions jersey. It's probably up there. I would say, man, like old navy blue, like LaDainian Tomlinson jersey
Oh,
for the Chargers
yeah.
is a fire jersey. I am a sucker for the Kelly Green Eagles jersey.
Yep.
Sad to admit, but it is a good jersey. Those are the two
No,
that
I
came
feel
to
like
mind just now.
the Chargers have definitely had a couple looks that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. Um, I'm trying to think if there's any other like vintage jersey that is like a must-have. The Jags were also rocking a vintage jersey this week, but it was much more understated. Um, because I mean, they're obviously such a modern team, coming around in the '90s that like their throwback look isn't throwing back that far. Um, but they had like the Jaguar on the shoulders that was kind of cool. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll talk about a couple
I did
other
like that one.
jerseys as they come to light. I'll get us into our next game here, wrapping up this point by saying the Eagles now at 3-0. Look like they're in pretty strong shape in the NFC once again. Rams, obviously a disappointing collapse, but the fact that they could put on that first half tells you something about this squad. Let's move on here to the most surprising outcome this week by a country mile. The
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. The game that many expected would be a rollover contest, but it was anything but, as the Browns, on a last second field goal, dropped the jaws of the collective football world, beating the Packers 13 to 10. Um,
After blocking a Packers kick, right?
I believe you. It's crazy.
I think that could
Crazy.
have happened.
No, I think you're
Um,
right. I actually think you're right because both Addie and I, we each had a quad box in two different rooms of the house, and I think we were both watching this game, especially by the end. We were like, "Who is going to win this freaking game?" And yeah, the Browns sent the Packers to 2-1.
uh, take that, Packers.
Who
Yeah,
is
I
your
was
who's your mystery Texan over here? Have
I'm
you
still
found him?
trying to figure it out. I have no
Okay.
idea. It's really escaping me. It's bothering me like badly. Um, but I'll figure it out. I'll let you know as soon as I have an update.
Okay, please do. I'm checking the play-by-play for a blocked kick here if I can find it. Yeah,
While
blocked
you're
field
doing
goal.
that, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you were right. Blocked field goal, 43-yard attempt. Obviously recovered by Cleveland, and that gave them uh, with 21 seconds to go, just enough time to storm down the field. Flacco spiking the ball with under 3 seconds left after a pass to the middle of the field, and was it Andre Schmidt, or Andrew Schmidt, Schmidt, the kicker, who missed a kick week one to drop the Browns against the Bengals, makes the miracle kick there at the end of the game.
That's tough. That's never easy. A blocked kick to another kick is kind of a crazy into a game. Worth mentioning, I think, that 2 out of 3 games, the Browns defense has looked quite good.
Yeah, they've got a
And then
test coming in week four.
they gave up 41 to the Ravens, so I don't know how that happened.
Don't blame them.
Yeah, another crazy game though. Yeah, like you said, most surprising one of the week for sure. Kind of surprised the Packers didn't do that well in offense. I think it's probably a testament to the Browns defense more than the Packers offense, if I had to guess, but I don't know. We'll see. Did you mention Jaden Reed already?
I did not.
Okay. So we talked about him last week, had a injury in their game where he broke his shoulder, and then he just had surgery on his clavicle, and apparently also had a Jones fracture in his left foot, which was not known until he had the surgery. So he got both of those things fixed on IR out indefinitely. It sounds like it will take a lot of time to recover from that.
Yeah, two injuries is difficult. I feel like to recover simultaneously. I imagine you kind of have to double up on physical therapy there. The way you said it, I thought they discovered the foot was messed up during the neck surgery, and I was like, what were they checking down there? Does he still have feeling down there? Oh, that's not in one piece. Uh, Interesting. Yeah, I think definitely would be nice for the Packers to get him back. I think the Packers offense is definitely the weaker of their two units. So far through the year. I think the defense has been more the defining feature of
For
the
sure.
Packers thus far. Haven't seen Matthew Golden break out yet, so um, hopefully for them they get Reed back at some point. That would help them gain a little bit of that offensive edge.
I think I
All
was
right,
thinking of Jordan Akins, who is a backup tight end on the Texans from 2018 to 2022. Hasn't been on the team in 3 years, but I still thought he was there. I think I also like combined him with like Pharaoh Brown in my brain somehow.
Oh, Pharaoh
Who was
Brown, that
so
one jumps out in my
I
mind.
think I
Yeah.
think there were multiple people that I just all lumped into like one person on the Texans.
I'll
Because
take the
Noah Brown's
best
a
part of
receiver,
every
not a tight end, so that doesn't even make sense why I said
I'll take the best part of every Texans tight end and
that.
produce the ultimate weapon. Noah Brown, second receiver for the Commanders. Yeah, no, it's understandable. I really, I was looking at it. I had the same thought as you. Maybe I was thinking of Pharaoh Brown. I don't know. Let's get into a couple
Who knows?
divisional matchups here. Let's start
Yeah.
in the AFC West, a battle for the top of the division. The winner is going to be leader of that division. And who came out on top, Damon?
That would be the Los Angeles Chargers winning 23 to
Ooh.
20 over the Denver Broncos, going to 3 and 0 on the season, all divisional wins to start the year for them. So they are looking great out the gates. Um, Worth mentioning, Khalil Mack went on IR following his elbow injury last week. Also, we didn't have this on the notes, and let me say it before I forget. Najee Harris tore his Achilles in this game.
Oh,
Non-contact
yeah.
injury. You see it as soon as it happens. You can see it, the rupture, the pop, whatever you want to call it. And it was rough, and I didn't like watching it. And unfortunate for him, he literally was just in the backfield, tried to get a burst of speed, fell. Justin Herbert dropping back, jumped over him, and then delivered a completed pass. It was kind of
Wow.
crazy. And yeah, I mean, the Chargers, aside from that unfortunate news, of course, look like they're really clicking. I know this was a closer game. Broncos defense relatively strong, but they are passing, I still think, the most in the NFL. Marion Hampton got a lot of use after Najee went out, so stock up for him if you have him in fantasy. And yeah, I think this is after the first 2 weeks, this is the result I would have expected, I think.
Yeah, I think the Broncos have disappointed, at least my personal expectations. I thought they had a lot of momentum going into the season. I didn't have a terribly close eye on this game. I was a little more intrigued by Bears Cowboys. Um, but I do think that this is a great start for the Chargers. They strike me as a team that would make a trade deadline move to maybe get one more piece, either to supplement one of these injured position groups or someone comes loose. I think it was Heath Call I was listening to today where they were talking about like could Trey Hendrickson get moved from the Bengals if there continue
Mm,
to be issues in Cincinnati, which they only really gave him a 1 year raise. I actually think if the Bengals are pretty much out of contention, it would make a lot of sense for them to trade Hendrickson and they could get a mid round pick back at least from a contender. He's looking for that kind of last player to get over the hump. So the Chargers to me feel like one of those teams that's pretty good, has a surprisingly strong start that makes them look like a true competitor. And that mismatch sort of between roster expectations and reality give them a little bit of wiggle room to take a risk. And so be watching for that for sure. But Herbert's throw to Keenan Allen, the touchdown throw near the end of this game was so good.
their
Herbert
connection
has
is right back where it was.
I mean, it's like a telepathy of some kind. Might be telekinesis. Herbert might just be moving Keenan's
Mm,
arms to go where the ball is going. I don't know. But it's been really impressive to see so far, and I think they're definitely looking like AFC contenders, especially with the rest of the AFC West. I think disappointing to start the season.
yeah, I'd say Bo Nix probably plays a part in this too. I think he looks a little slumpy so far compared to how good his rookie year was. But that seems to just happen in the NFL. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Everybody in their second year has to get a little worse.
it's a really odd phenomenon that there's this sort of yeah, I don't know why that is. I wonder if like you understand the basics and then you're trying to get more advanced ideas in your head, but you don't quite have them wrapped around yet, so it kind of slows the rest of your play down or something. I don't know. But either way, yeah, I think the Broncos need to add a little bit of offensive juice in the form of Knicks improving, or they'll be in trouble. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw, I can't remember if you mentioned this, placed on IR for the Broncos before the game with a quad injury. So a free agent addition prized by them on the second level will be out for at least three more games after this one. So
I did not mention that, so
challenging.
you are good.
Let's go.
Let's
Um,
go.
all right, let's jump into another super close contest here.
In a division
49ers.
where every team is still winning.
Every team in this division has a winning record. What did I say? Houston Texans were going to shape the NFC West. As I mentioned to you yesterday, by being not very strong, they're making the NFC West look better. 49ers beat the Cardinals 16 to 15. This was another last second field goal drilled by Andy Pinheiro, the replacement for Jake Moody, who was released as the Niners kicker after week one. So huge,
Third
huge,
round pick.
huge. Um, yeah. Don't take a kicker before round six, I think is what we're learning. Maybe round five. Uh, Niners continue to be insanely injured. Purdy is on his way back, but Mac Jones got injured during this game. And I believe is questionable for this week at least. So they're really hoping to get Brock back. Offensive lineman Spencer Burford, placed on IR before this contest. And then the big news out of this game, Edge, Nick Bosa tore his ACL and is out for the season. The Niners losing their premier edge rusher and now forced to rely on some younger players to step up in his absence.
Yeah, second time he's tore his ACL. I think it's the other ACL. So that's not good. I wonder how he will look coming back from another huge injury, obviously. The kind of explosion that you need to be an elite edge rusher, I think. Um, some of that burst is obviously lost with an injury like this. So we wish him the best for his recovery, and we'll see him next season.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully he can come back and contribute. I don't know how old he is off the top of my head, but I feel like he
Not
might
that
be
old.
nearing
Like 26, 27.
27. Let's see. My guess is 30. He's 27. That's crazy.
Bing,
Is
bing,
he
bing.
is he Joey's younger brother? And I just didn't realize.
He is. He is. He
I
is.
see. I think I had him backwards. Joey's actually 30, so I don't feel
Ah,
terrible,
okay.
terrible about that. But yeah, I mean, if he's still 27, yeah, he's got plenty in the tank. I just feel like maybe I'm mixing up how injured his brother got as well, because Joey consistently had injury problems, uh, unfortunately. But I wanted to highlight a couple plays in this game. Kyler Murray backed up in their own end zone. The Cardinals on third down, he tries to whip the ball away out of the end zone, before taking a sack, which would constitute a safety, which I think is one of the most backbreaking plays in the NFL to not only give up 2 points to the opponent, but then also to give them the ball. So he throws the ball out of bounds, and they rule intentional grounding, which normally penalties in the end zone, or I guess like if the penalty would put, I don't know the exact rulings, but maybe it's a penalty while the quarterback is in the end zone. That
Hmm.
results in a safety. I think that's the rule. And so, because the ball was released from his hand beyond the goal line, apparently, as long as the ball or any part of the player is beyond the goal line, it doesn't count, I think is the rule. So because he was able to get just outside of the goal line, they're able to punt the ball away, which is massive, obviously, for them. And then later in the game, the Niners actually commit a penalty with Mac Jones in the end zone, and that results in a safety for the Cardinals, which gives us that 15-point score there. And that felt like the game was nearly over because when you have a divisional contest that's this close and tight throughout the entire game and low scoring, any point that you let slip away feels like it's going to be the decisive point. And so the fact that the Cardinals weren't able to capitalize on that just kind of has me worried for what they're going to look like. I know that's unfair to a 2-1 team, maybe, but if you can't make the most of that 2 point advantage and go down the field and control the ball, I think that it's tough for me to be super optimistic about the future of the team. But Excuse me.
Fourth round pick, or fourth overall pick rather, last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. dropped a wide open pass that would have been a touchdown and would have
Yeah,
put this game away. So,
It's it's brutal for one of the most hyped rookies in a while. I think everyone was just like out of the box. He's going to be the goat, not the goat,
mhm.
but going to be very very good. He's definitely underperformed, especially relative to his contemporaries with the way that Odunze's been playing and Neighbors
Mm.
and Brian Thomas Jr. Um, he's kind of looked like one of the softer players in a very good bunch. So challenging for him.
Yeah, it's tough for sure. Last affair that we wanted to highlight, of course, the Lions dominating the Ravens. Not really, but 38 to 30 seems like a closer score than it was. Really had this garbage time touchdown from the Ravens, but Lions take a victory. I got to watch most of this game. I showed up a little bit after it started because I was at work with Jared, as he mentioned earlier. What a fun contest it was. Before the game, worth mentioning Isaiah Likely still out, tight end for them, hasn't suited up yet. And that led to the Mark Andrews explosion, I guess, because he had two touchdowns, even though one of them was in garbage time and didn't matter at all. Anyways,
Yeah, a couple other big injuries for the Ravens on defense, missing Kyle Van Noy, as we mentioned last week, and then also not having defensive tackle Justin Matabike. That let the Lions run all over the Ravens. I think I saw a stat or heard a stat that they hadn't let up a 95-yard scoring drive since 2001. The Lions had two such drives um, just in the game. So the Lions defense was swarming. They had a plan for Jaxson and Henry, and it worked really well. Seven
contained them very
sacks.
well.
Yeah, two forced fumbles, one of which recovered by the Ravens, the other recovered by the Lions. Probably the turning point in this game.
Hmm.
Despite the fact,
Game might have been over already, but
it definitely helped finish it either way. I think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was probably the nail in the coffin.
Hmm.
The This was definitely one of those games where whoever blinks first will lose. Um, Lions just kept going forward on fourth more often than not, converting. They had a couple trickeration plays in there. Felt reminiscent of the Ben Johnson Lions of yesteryear. And I don't want to go on for too long, even though I could, but just a really, really promising performance from both sides of the ball, but especially the defense. I know we gave up 30, but as you said, that last touchdown was pretty much when the game was in hand. So,
Hmm.
pretty convincing win against one of the marquee teams in the AFC who now fall to 1-2 after losing to the Bills in week one. Lions 2-1. Browns coming up next for them. But yeah, really fun, really awesome game. And the
Yeah.
Lions are back one for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the trickery. Two plays I think I would highlight from last night's performance. Jared Goff handing a basically vertical football to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who then pitches it to Jahmyr Gibbs, who is just so fast that he beats the edge rusher out to the sideline on fourth and goal to score a touchdown, or fourth and one, but very close to the goal line to score that touchdown. And then later, another fourth down play, play action, fourth and one. Do you think we're just going to pound it right at the middle? No, we're going to play action, throw the ball to Amon-Ra 20 yards down the field. Crazy call. It was when we were trying to keep the drive alive to kind of get the game in hand there near the end. And was ultimately successful. So, like you said, I'm glad to see the creative play calling kind of survive through Ben Johnson's absence. Of course, we have the other, coordinators and coaches and stuff that were there last year too in his stead that learned from him and all that. So, makes sense. And then, yeah, Kelvin Shepard very happy with a lot of the defensive plays throughout this game, as he should be, because we held a two-time MVP quarterback to set where he sacked him 7 times, held him in the pocket a lot, did a great job, I think, having a spy on him constantly and containing him. And then I'll also shout out practice squad legend Muhammad, who was promoted for this game, had 2.5 sacks, 2 TFLs, gave a great post-game locker speech where he was just very thankful about the opportunity and all the other guys around him. That was very nice to see.
Yeah, Muhammad was our third defensive end behind Marcus Davenport. Then Davenport um, was injured, has been sent to IR. So getting the start and his post game locker room speech was very inspiring, and it was cool as a Lions fan to see so many different players getting those sacks as well, right? Hutchinson obviously still a dominant force, but they were coming from all over the field, including Derek Barnes pitching in a sack as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, just a really awesome, fun game. I was glad you were able to join us for it. Sorry if my celebratory dancing was a little odious, but I was pretty hyped. Uh, let's spin ahead here to these one-liner contests here. And would you like to start with Bills Dolphins or shall I?
Um, I'll start with Bills Dolphins. No, I won't. I want to do the next game. I lied.
Okay. Bills 31, Dolphins 21. Mike McDaniel asking the Dolphins owner, "Is this margin close enough for me to keep my job?"
Ah,
Yeah, I guess.
yes.
I guess.
To their credit, they looked relatively respectable in this game compared to the first two contests.
Yeah, I didn't mean to
But
slander McDaniel quite that much with that
no, no,
vocalization there, but
it makes sense.
um
It makes sense.
it definitely, I mean, this was the will Mike McDaniel be fired game, and they played well enough to answer no. Sadly, not well enough to win. I think was kind of the big narrative coming out of this game. Bills still look really good.
Yeah, I'll go Vikings Bengals. Vikings 48, Bengals 10. A new purple people eater has arrived. Isaiah Rodgers
Ooh.
with two defensive touchdowns and an additional forced fumble all in the first half. First time in NFL history a player has had two defensive touchdowns in a game, I think, or something like, or not two defensive touchdowns in a game. I think it was like two defensive touchdowns and the forced fumble. It was a whole colluded stat, but did it all in the first half, and I had it on red zone, and I was like, Jesus, this guy's going crazy. Um, Eagles let him walk in free agency because they didn't want to pay him. So,
Um,
ouch.
yeah, that feels like a miss though. This game was so out of hand that something crazy was bound to happen there, and it just happened to be Rodgers
And they were both like
scoring
great
crazy.
plays. Like one of them was like
Yeah.
a great jump on a route in stride touchdown. And then the forced fumble punched the ball out of, I think it was Noah Fant, maybe. It was a tight end. I can't remember who their tight end is. And then picked the ball up and ran all the, he punched the ball out, picked it up, and ran all the way back. And then the forced fumble he had after that, on the literally the next possession was against Jamar Chase. So he had a great game here.
I did not realize Noah Fant was on their team. That's great.
Yeah.
Mike Gesicki's on this team. That's
Yeah, he's yeah, they got a weird tight end room over there right now.
I thought maybe Gesicki's near the end of his career. I thought he was pretty good in Miami. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, all right. So before I go down the Bengals tight end rabbit hole, let me go to our next game here. Regaining my ability to speak. Colts 41, Titans 20. Okay, okay. I'll relinquish any hope in this Titans team. This was just uh just a little sad. Addie had this one on because she wanted to see what the Colts were looking like, and it just seems like the Colts are suddenly legit. They've, I believe, matched the win total I predicted for them this season. Um, please keep listening to the podcast. Please keep listening. We never claim to
Daniel
be
Jones for
experts.
MVP? Huh?
Uh, see, that's, I mean, maybe I think it's more likely Steichen gets credit as the head coach than
Fair.
Daniel, unfortunately. But defensive tackle Devondre Sweat for the Titans placed on IR before the game, which is unfortunate. One of their standout defenders in Tennessee. Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce in concussion protocol, and as you noted, the Colts punted finally, but only once, making it the fewest punts in the first three games since at least 1940, just like we all drew this season up for the Colts.
Of course.
Uh, and Brian Callahan has given up offensive play calling duties to quarterbacks coach Bo Hardigree, which why it didn't go to the offensive coordinator, I don't know. Really strange, and it screams jobs in trouble. But who
Yeah,
knows?
for the Titans. Yeah.
For the Titans. Yeah, sorry, Titans head coach Brian Callahan. Um, when I listen to Heed the Call podcast, their producer is a Titans fan, and so every week he just has a rant about why Brian Callahan is just unfit as head coach. And
Oof.
there's honestly like a lot of compelling evidence that they
Yeah,
should just get
seems
rid of
that
him.
way.
Yeah, I don't know
Ouch.
what's going on organizationally where you skip over the offensive coordinator. I Who knows? Uh Cam Ward started this game with a pick six. So you know, it was uh it was kind of set in stone before we even really started play
Yeah,
here.
it's tough. Um, I'll move to the next game. Commanders 41, Raiders 24. Oh no, Jaden Daniels is out. Thank God we have the Jaden Daniels of 10 years ago. As
Nice.
Marcus Mariota leads the Commanders of 41 points. Crazy. Crazy good game from them. The Raiders suck, man. The Raiders are terrible. I believe the
That's
number for Ashton Jeanty now is 144 rushing yards on the season, 145 rushing yards after contact.
rough. That is rough.
Don't love to see it. Hopefully, Jane
Really
Daniels
thought
comes back this week.
that would be good. I really thought the Raiders were going to be like competent, and I just really don't get that impression based on how their season has
No.
started. That they're playing very proficient ball, which is it's tough for them, man.
Yeah.
A lot of investments this offseason not paying off. Uh, okay, I'll take the next game here. Panthers 30, Falcons 0. I didn't even realize this game was happening, and I think the Falcons wish that it had never come to my attention. Um, Cornerback AJ Terrell for the Falcons week to week with a hamstring injury. He's definitely probably their premier corner, so that's a difficult
Yeah.
loss there. After this game, the Falcons fired wide receiver coach Ike Hilliard and are giving those duties to passing game coordinator TJ Yates. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
like
We really don't like our wide receivers. We're gonna fire that
it's really strange.
guy.
As I've gotten a little bit more awareness of like what coordinators do and their responsibilities as I've kind of dug a little bit more into the Lions, shuffling around some of their coordinators this offseason. Our running backs coach became our wide receivers coach. And I imagine that a lot of these people you have on the offensive staff are like a collective brain trust whose job is to have good ideas. But like, was it Ike Hilliard's fault they lost by 30? We're blaming it on
Right.
Ike?
As somebody who started Michael Penix Jr. in fantasy for the injured Jaden Daniels, no, it wasn't the wide receiver's fault. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say to that move. And if you're a Panthers fan, I mean these Falcons look pretty decent in prime time against the Vikings, and so to smother them this way, um, the Saints scored, right? Panthers didn't let the Falcons score. So it's a pretty dominant performance against a divisional opponent, and it looks like Arrow might be up on the Panthers, which I think would be fun. I kind of want the Panthers
Yeah,
to
for
get
sure.
out of this morass and be a fun team again. So we'll see where
They
that
also wore
goes.
some sick uniforms.
They were looking clean. Oh, I did want to mention I did not like the Browns uniforms this week with the like neon orange
The
on
all
brown.
brown. Yeah. All brown is
Ugh.
just never gonna be. Can they just fix their colors? Like when that's
Yeah,
brown and orange, it's not gonna work. It's just not.
we've made an executive decision to just move on from orange. Um, I think it looks okay on the away uniform when it's mostly white and the brown and orange
Hmm.
are accents, but
Yeah.
whew, that scheme, man, that
It's
scheme is
tough. It's
tough.
tough.
Yeah.
Don't like that
Uh,
one.
all right.
All right.
Next
S-
contest here.
Steelers 21, Patriots 14. What an exciting matchup if this were 15 years ago. but
Yeah.
it's not. And I wasn't excited and I didn't care. Um, Both teams looked like whatever. Really, the Patriots lost this game for themselves. Ramondre Stevenson had two fumbles in the red zone, I believe. One of them was literally on the plane of the goal line for a touchdown. And then they said, okay, remember that guy we drafted in the second round? We're not going to play him yet. We're going to play Antonio Gibson now. And then Antonio Gibson fumbled. And they said, okay, now we'll play the guy in the second round. And he played most of the snaps for the remainder of the game, but they still could not come away from the victory. Drake May looked pretty good. Um, and that's about all I took away from that. And worth mentioning, Christian Gonzalez still yet to play for the Patriots. Obviously, their best corner, maybe their best defender. So I think he's supposed to also come back this upcoming week. We'll see.
That'd be a big get for the Patriots. Put him alongside Carlton Davis. Yeah, I this game was potentially even more off my radar than Panthers Falcons because the score wasn't even particularly exciting. Um, but if I'm the Steelers, you kind of want to bury these teams a little bit if you think you're going to be a contender. Uh, I think
How do you
another
feel
team
about
that
the
needs.
red and white Patriots uniforms? You said that they were wearing the old school, like red jersey, white helmet, white pants.
Let me do some digging here. Patriots.
While Jared is researching, I'll ponder. He said the Steelers, if you think of yourselves as a contender, they're not, but people think they are, and I don't like that. Barely beat the Jets, lost to the Seahawks. This is not a good team. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the Steelers.
Um, these are all right. Uh, Not
Yeah, it's
crazy
not how
about
I
them.
feel about them.
They look a little collegiate to me. Just sort of
Mm,
that red with the blue shoulders um
Old
just feels
Miss
like a
or something.
college color scheme. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Um, I kind of like the Patriot snapping the football on the helmet. But
Hmm.
yeah, the red isn't quite as like iconic as a creamsicle orange, for example.
Right.
So, all right, let me have been desperately thinking of something to say for this game. Bears 31, Cowboys 14. Caleb Johnson, or who is Caleb Johnson? Who is that? The running
Caleb
back
Johnson
for
is
the
the Steelers' third string running back who literally didn't play at all.
yeah. Here, I'll work that in so it looks natural.
Thank
Bears
you.
31, Cowboys 14. Caleb Johnson is the name of a rookie running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the fanfic I'm definitely not writing after that insane 60-yard flicker there. Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson coming together to make some
Mm,
explosive offense happen, hence the Caleb and the Johnson.
there you go.
Uh, and that play I showed you last night, truly insane.
Yeah.
Flea flicker. The delivery on the flea flicker to Caleb was super weird. Ball came out
It was
high,
so
little
vertical.
wobbly. Yeah, you pointed out it was high. I just thought it looked wobbly. I mean, it wasn't a great pitch back. Either way, lands in his hands, and then Williams delivers one of the most graceful arcing throws with insane air time. Beautiful arc, perfect spiral into the hands of Luther Bird in the third for an incredibly long touchdown. Bears put the wallop on the Cowboys a little bit. The Cowboys did not look competitive in this game, especially with CD Lamb missing several weeks. He actually came out of the game with the ankle injury, tried to return for I think one play, um, came up limping and said, "Yeah, I don't got it." But that's not a loss you can really afford if you're Dallas right now. The way their defense is playing, you need all the offensive help you can get. Unfortunately, guard Tyler Booker also suffered a high ankle sprain and will be out 4 to 6 weeks for them. So
Just
multiple
became the
injuries.
highest paid guard like a week ago. Tough.
It's I swear that's been happening all offseason where these
Happened with,
highly paid guys who
yeah,
just get their contracts get hurt. Luke Gedeke for the Bucks is an
yeah, that's the
example.
one I thought of.
And oh my gosh, how am I forgetting his name? He's one of the three best offensive tackles in the league potentially. Who is the Charger? Oh, Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, yeah.
Rashawn Slater gets his mega contract and then out for the season. So man, there's just some bad luck there. Bears injuries heading into this game. Corner Jalen Johnson, one of their top defensive backs, and offensive lineman Kieran Omega
Yeah,
Dihe.
yeah, yeah,
Omega
yeah.
Dihe
I was writing
faced
that name and I was like, oh God.
You really were like, oh, I'll take this one first because you just counted out and you're like, okay, Jared's gonna have to take Bears Cowboys and make himself look like a fool. Um, Omega Dihe placed on IR before the game, and then rookie tight end Colston Loveland suffered a hip injury, but not expected to miss time, which is good for those holding Loveland in fantasy, and also for a Bears attack that I think benefits from having access to a couple quality tight ends.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson, you mentioned top defensive back for them. The guy's like an all-pro corner. And he re-aggravated his groin injury that he was out for week one with when he came back, and he could miss the season. That's the news on him.
Wow, yeah, no, that's
That's tough.
I think the Bears have a decent chance to get to 2-2 based on their opponent this weekend. But without a premier player like that, it's going to be tough once you're up against the stronger teams in the league. So
Need more consistency from Caleb.
yeah, not just the deep bombs. Do we think the Cowboys are a bottom three team in the NFC right now?
Oh, I mean, they had a pretty competitive game with the Eagles week one.
Yep.
And then who did they play last week? I don't remember.
They played the Giants in the like insane.
Oh, and the insane game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Defense putting it, letting the Giants score that many points is an atrocity. Letting the Bears score this many points is an atrocity. Yeah, their defense is an atrocity. That's what I learned just by
yeah,
remembering the scores of the last two games.
yep.
And without your premier offensive guard and best offensive player in CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be very hard to keep up with teams if your defense is giving up this many points. Bottom three, though, I mean, the NFC South exists, the Saints exist.
Oh, I forgot
Um,
about the Saints. I did forget about the Saints. Forgot about the Saints.
the Giants are probably still below them. So yeah, they're down there though.
I would say bottom five. I think I would take every NFC North and NFC West team over them pretty comfortably. So
Cardinals is a conversation, but other than that, I totally agree.
I believe they play. So we'll get to decide the are the Cowboys worse than the whole NFC West Bowl is coming up on the schedule soon too.
All right.
Yes.
Last game of the week. Is it me?
Yep.
Chiefs 22, Giants 9. Prime time, more like time to go to sleep because I did not care about this game and didn't even watch it because I knew this would be the result. And it was. It didn't matter. Only thing worth noting for me, at least, running back Tyron Tracy Jr. dislocated his shoulder. A pretty brutal hit that he took in this game for that injury. Looks like he's going to be out for several weeks. Cam Skattebo going to be getting the totes over there in the New York backfield. And of course, you already mentioned Jaxson Dart taking over as the starter, as Russell Wilson had an atrocious game in week three.
Yeah, Cam Skattebo looked really solid actually. Putting up well over 100 yards of offense. If I'm not mistaken, kind of a bruising running back there. I would like to see, and I'm curious to see whether that was in part a product of how the Chiefs wanted to play the Giants, because I think like after week two, you see the Giants have all these deep bombs. I imagine you're going to leave the box a little light. Maybe that gave Scatterbo a little extra room to go, but he definitely looked like probably the most promising young offensive player, or most promising offensive player, period, on this team this week. And yeah, with Tracy out of the way, we're going to see if Scatterbo can establish himself as the clear RB1 in New York for a team that I did watch this game. Snoozer. I was washing my dishes, and I think
That's what I was doing. I
more
was
enjoyable
snoozing.
football was happening in the sink, potentially, than what was on screen. I think the Chiefs are just really, 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 really missing a wide receiver. Tyquan Thornton gave them something. They need Worthy back. They need Kelsey to find himself. They need Rashee Rice off of suspension. Beating the Giants by 13, I'm sorry, just does not cut it as the Chiefs are so back. Um, and I think they have a really tough matchup coming up this next week. I
Yeah,
imagine that's
I'm
one of the
I'm
games we'll
I'm
dive
excited to
into.
talk
So,
about that one.
yeah. All right. That was
Let's do it.
the recap. Let's get the wheel turning here.
Let's get the wheel a rolling. Let me pull up the old wheel, they say. Let me pull up the old wheel. I got the wheel pulled up. Do you see the wheel, Jared? It's been sitting
I see
here
the wheel.
spinning, absolutely waiting
Are you the
for our
first?
teams. I don't remember. I
Well,
think
I was
so, because
first week one, so it's week four. I
yes,
think you're
yes.
up
I
here.
get I get the odd ones, you get the even ones. Nope, other way around. You get the odd ones, I get the even ones.
The inverse of what you said for sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what team I'm gonna get to watch. Let's predict. I'm gonna go with Saints. That's who I'm gonna get this week.
You're gonna get the Saints this week. I feel
Yeah.
like you're gonna get the Dolphins. I just
Oh, that's not good, Jared. That's why you should do that to me,
Why'd you do the Saints to yourself? What are you talking about? No, could it be worse? Okay, you just got saved.
Oh,
You just got
that's still not
saved.
great, man. Who do they play? The Cardinals. Oh, they play, guess who? The Seahawks, who I just watched in week 3.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That is so sick.
Now I can really get a taste of the Seahawks because I didn't get that much from the Saints, to be fair. Um,
Well,
yeah,
now you can make a
Seahawks.
better appraisal of the Cardinals because you
Right,
know what the
right.
Seahawks are bringing.
Right, exactly. This is Thursday night. This is the first game of the week, Thursday night football. Cardinals Seahawks NFC West matchup. Both teams are 2-1, I believe. So that is pretty exciting, honestly. The Cardinals, I think, have played a little above their heads so far this season. We're gonna have to look at how that secondary looks. They did lose the game against the 49ers, but remember last week we talked about 3 of their corners being injured after
Yeah,
week 2. So
yeah.
we'll see if how many of those guys suit up here in week 4. I think Kyler has been pretty hit or miss so far this season. Already talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. We didn't mention this somehow, which is insane because it's super important. James Conner out for the season.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a
Um,
huge injury for them.
yeah, he had somebody fell on his leg in a really bad way, just kind of twisted it,
Oof.
looked real ugly. It was
Yeah.
immediately like, yep, he's done. So he's out for the season. Trey Benson going to be taking over the lead back duties there. So we'll see how he looks Thursday Night Football as kind of the guy for that team. Yeah, this will be really interesting. I think this will be a closer game than I would have thought coming into the season because I think the Cardinals are probably playing a little better than I expected, and the Seahawks maybe playing a little worse than I expected.
I will say having the matchup on a Thursday is pretty nice because it's
I
the
don't
only
have to
one you have
miss
to focus
everything.
on, and then
Yeah.
yeah, and then you can just watch Red Zone on Sunday or whatever, and get a good view of everything.
Yeah. I'm excited about that for sure. I'm thrilled about this matchup. I don't know how we skipped past the Connor injury the first time. Kind of wild.
Yeah, that was. I mean, we texted about it today separately,
Yeah.
talking about fantasy football, so we were clearly thinking about it. But oh
Sometimes they just
boy,
don't make it on the old dock. All right, Jared's gonna get the I don't know.
this it's gonna
Ah,
be like Cleveland or something. Oh,
yes. Yes, Jared. Our
misery.
our resident
Well,
NFC North expert.
this is just tedious because, of course, this is the Cowboys week, so everyone will just be yapping about Micah the entire game. Um, the
Oh
only
yeah.
saving grace is this is the Sunday night contest, which means I'm also in prime time. I don't have to compete against any other games, and I can watch whatever I want on Sunday. Um,
What kind of coincidence is that? Prime time matchups for both of us. That's crazy.
I've had two prime times so far, which is pretty nice. And then the third one was the Lions game, which I was going to watch anyway.
Right.
Uh, so I'll get to give Lions Browns my full attention. Grateful for that, of course. And then, um, oh, freaking Packers, man. They can just have Gabe like send me some notes or something. Get
Oh,
like
well,
a
you're gonna watch this game anyways, I imagine, being the Sunday night game. So,
yeah. I'll find all the flaws I can. Don't worry. Uh, no, I'll be fair. I'll be fair. I do think the Packers through week three spare the aberration against the Browns have looked like one of the five best teams in the league. So we'll
Mhm.
see if they're able to put a wallop on the Cowboys or if the Cowboys have some miraculous magic in the Micah Parsons game.
Micah Parsons returns to Dallas. That's the game you get on the wheel. I mean, that's cool. That's cool, man.
I mean, Sunday Night Football. I'll take it. It's prime time. I'm happy. This is my really weird thing. I wanted to watch the Panthers this week. I'm like curious on
Okay.
what the Panthers have going on. Um, oh, it's Panthers Patriots. Forget I said that. I'm very fortunate. Golly. Um,
So aside from the wheel games, do you want to hit the other? Do you want to do just big games, or do you want to do like prime time specifically? I can't remember how we. I think we just do the ones we think are interesting, right?
yeah, we just pick games we think are consequential. I don't think Chiefs Giants rose to that level last week for sure.
Right.
Um, this on paper looks like a much more interesting slate of games, which is why it, knock on desk might end up being a little sleepy. I see three, four, five games that I'm like, oh, these are interesting. Actually, the more I look at it, the more pessimistic I become.
Yeah. Let me
I'll
go
take one.
first
Yeah, you take one first. Go ahead.
because you just did your wheel team. I'm gonna
Fair.
take from you Titans Texans. I think it's
Great.
interesting because God, these teams have both looked so bad, and somebody has to win the game unless they become 0-3 and 1. I guess it's possible.
Feels like a
Uh,
fitting fate. They're 0-3 and 1 and then their seasons are voided. They don't get to play anymore.
but yeah, I mean, if to be fair, I was going to say if the Texans don't bounce back now, win. But the Titans' defense has looked much better than their offense, so I would not be surprised if the stout Titans defense held the very bad looking Texans offense, but also vice versa because the Texans defense has looked pretty good and the Titans offense has looked pretty bad. So two bad offenses and two good defenses in a crap division that have had terrible starts to the season. I think do either of them look like they have some life? That would be nice.
I'm looking back at it. Titans have put up how many points? 20 last week, 19 the week before that, and then like 12 points. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of taking the Titans in this one. I think low key
Right? Like that's crazy because the Texans would be 0-4. That's crazy.
yeah, the Texans would be 0 and 4. I think the Texans defense is definitely the best unit in this game. But I have such little faith in the Texans offense right now that um I think it'd be exciting for the I don't know what the Texans would do if they go 0 and 4. Someone would have to get fired at some point during the season. I don't know. Okay, I'm definitely not gonna pick that by the way. So
Yeah,
glad you were able
yeah,
to give that game a platform. You were like, I took that from you. You took it from my garbage can. But actually a good point. I think, this is the same reason I was so keyed in on Jags Texans is I'm really curious, or Texans Jags, where is this team gonna land? And
yeah.
if you're 0 and 4, I think the season's probably just about done, especially losing games that appeared very winnable, right? The
Right.
Jags, now the Titans. If you're 0 and 4, I'm giving them hope. I'm going to highlight a game I mentioned earlier, same time slot, Sunday at noon. Eagles Bucks, I think matters a ton. The Eagles have pulled out win after win after win, but that most recent win looked miraculous. This team looked immortal against the Cowboys. They didn't exactly drub the Chiefs. So this is an opportunity where the Buccaneers, who have had the Eagles number, could surprise. That said, if the Buccaneers get swept by the Eagles and absolutely washed out, it's going to tell us a lot about the Bucks. I think this is a really important game for the Buccaneers to establish themselves as a potential power in the NFC. If they don't play well, we're going to be looking at them as the best of a bad bunch in the NFC South once again.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. But you mentioned the Eagles barely edging out their wins. We already talked about the Bucks earlier, winning all of their games in the last possession.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So
The
that'll
Eagles have
be
done it against more quality opposition, I would
yeah,
say. The
yeah.
Rams and Chiefs are both a tier above the Bucks opponents, but yeah, I think the Eagles are facing an opponent they should be able to handle, and the Bucks have a chance to surprise in Tampa.
I wouldn't have said this coming into the season, but two top 10 opponents play in the 3 o'clock slot. Colts Ravens. I mean Colts Rams. Sorry,
Yeah.
I said Ravens. Um, I have no idea what is going to happen in Colts Rams because I feel like the Colts should have lost 2 games already. Yet here they are 3-0 going into a Rams team that has also looked very good. Yes, they lost tragically to the Eagles with that blocked kick at the end of last game, but otherwise they're both sides of the ball have looked very strong for that Rams team, stronger than I even thought, and I thought they were a playoff team. So I think this will be an interesting litmus test for the Colts to see if they're really, really, really the real deal.
Yeah, I think the Colts' most impressive win so far is over the Broncos. The
Right.
Broncos are currently 1-2. Not to say they're a bad 1-2 per se, but I think we definitely, the narrative around these Colts would be different if they didn't get the leveraging penalty in week 2. And yeah, if they beat the Rams, we're gonna have to start talking about the Colts as um up there in the AFC. But we'll see. Um, this is definitely not one of the most. So go
There's
ahead.
only one more. There's only one more game that I even care about. But go
Um,
ahead.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to. Oh, I'll leave that one to you. I'm gonna call this one out. I know I'm a fan, so this is cringe, but I actually think Browns Lions low key matters. And I think it matters because what the Browns defense did against the Packers was really, really impressive.
Hmm.
Um, they do have to travel to Detroit. I think after the Monday night win, there's going to be a ton of excitement in Detroit. I think the Lions offense probably right now I'd have to say is probably better than the Packers offense through 3 weeks after what we've done against the Bears and then the Ravens putting up 90 points across 2 weeks. And
Mm.
so I think we have the potential to give the Browns a little more fits, and potentially put this game kind of out of reach by I think if we score 24 points, I feel pretty good that that's enough to handle the Browns, right? Um, if the Browns defense keeps this game really close, or stuns the league 2 weeks in a row, which I'm not rooting for nor predicting, but I think we would suddenly have to view the Browns differently. Um, if they're able to look really competitive back to back, and maybe that doesn't put them in the playoff conversation if they drop this game, but if the Browns are a very feisty 1-3, they're going to be a team worth keeping an eye on more than maybe a team like the Raiders, who we thought were going to be more of a spoiler in the AFC.
Yeah, it's a good call. And I think it's also worth mentioning, obviously, Flacco not a QB of the future. If your defense is playing on such an elite level, when do you start developing the other side of the ball to match up?
Dylan Gabriel watch question mark.
Could be. Could be. Last game I want to mention, I don't know if there's anything else that you super care about here, but Ravens and Chiefs have to talk about because both teams are 1-2. Somebody will be 1-3 after this week, unless they tie, of course, which I don't think will happen. And that's wild. That's a wild start to the season for these guys. Now, to the Ravens' credit, they did lose. I mean, they blew it against the Bills in week one, up by like 2 touchdowns almost, with like 5 minutes left, and they somehow managed to lose that game. And then, of course, the Lions score looks a little more competitive than it seems down the stretch, but two very good teams. And I think the Chiefs have lost against the Chargers, which look like a very good team, and the Eagles, and that was kind of a whatever game. But both of these teams, I think, have something they need to prove and kind of right the ship going into the rest of the season because obviously the big three in the AFC coming into the season, Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, two of those big three are negative. So somebody needs to bounce back here in a big way.
Yeah, I think this is the one that is going to get a lot of. I mean, everyone will be talking about the Micah Parsons, whatever, but I think beyond that game, this is the one that the most folks are going to have circled as season defining. I feel like the Ravens have a strong enough team overall that if they fell to 1-3, I'd have much more faith in them finding a way than the Chiefs, who if they fall to 1-3, I don't know. They got to play the Lions before Rasheed Rice comes back. Just a difficult schedule. And so
Yeah, they've only
I
managed to
think,
conquer the mighty Giants. So
yeah, the Chiefs need reinforcements, need it fast. I think Worthy might be back for this game, which would be a huge boost to their offense, but an exciting one regardless. Let's get into our one-liners here for the
I'm
rest of
excited.
the games. Um,
Go ahead. Start me off.
Vikings Steelers. I get up at 8:30 a.m. to watch Carson Wentz. Now that's what I call the luck of the Irish. The game's being played in Ireland, for listeners who don't
Yeah, I
know.
was thinking I forgot I wanted to do this. I had it scrolled down and didn't have that game pulled up. I was thinking, who will be the better Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers or Isaiah Rodgers?
That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm glad you got that in there for sure.
Uh, Commanders, Falcons. Marcus Mariota returning to Atlanta to dominate the Falcons? Maybe, because the Falcons are bad. I didn't really think about that one at all because I didn't think I would have to do it, and then it came up and I wasn't ready. So
Do you want
that's
to
on
take
me.
Chargers Giants so we can alternate into something you can work with?
Man, I don't know because I wasn't looking at now I'm lost. Now I need time. Go, please. I need time.
Chargers
You do the
Giants.
next two. You do the next
Okay.
two and then I'll pick up.
Chargers Giants. Statistics show that before Jaxson Dart was set to play, approximately 0 people were going to watch this game, and now it's up to 30. And
Nice.
then Panthers Patriots. Um, searching, searching,
There you go.
searching.
I like what we're cooking.
Headline not found.
Yeah. That's a good one. How about this? Saints at Bills. Into the game, Josh Allen holds up a little piece of paper. And that little piece of paper has the number 100 written on it. Because Josh Allen and the Built Chamberlain Bills have put up 100 points on the New Orleans Saints.
You see the built? Oh, I see.
You get
Wilt
it.
built.
Wilt Chamberlain scored 100. Yeah, NBA joke.
That was if you know that is one of the things. Not to pause us here, but like I want to see one of those records happen. Knock
Mhm.
on desk because then it'll happen to my team, right? But I always do wonder. It feels like no team is gonna go all out like that, but you never know. Maybe someday. Sorry, I'll get our momentum back.
No, you're good.
Jaguars, 49ers. This is a cross continent clash that few asked for, but I don't know. I kind of feel like these teams are about even in my head.
Yeah, surprisingly. The Mac Jones Bowl,
Subtly,
in a
I
way.
don't know. Yeah, Mac. Yeah, the Mac Jones revenge tour. If he plays, oh no, I've got another one actually. I'm gonna take this back real quick.
Sure, sure, sure. No, no issues, my friend.
Jaguars, 49ers. Why do I have a weird feeling the Niners' third string quarterback could outplay Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, Bears at Raiders. Are you sure we're in Las Vegas? Because after this game, I'm thinking we could be in Rome.
This is no doomsday joke.
Yeah, it's an Odunze
That's
joke.
good. That's good. That's good. Um, I like that. Rome looked really good these last couple weeks.
Yeah, he's looked like their guy for sure.
Um, okay. The first of two Monday night clashes. Jets, Dolphins. There was only going to be one Monday night game, but they had to sprint another game into this slot to make sure Monday was watchable.
Oh man, Dolphins are wearing all black and like neon green uniforms, so they look pretty sick. So
Is this the rivalry thing?
maybe it's the rivalry one. I don't know.
Um,
I don't even remember what those look like. I looked at them. I don't remember what those look like.
Jets, Dolphins. The next game starts in an hour, so that should be long enough to assess the uniforms.
There you go. I like that. I like that. Here we go. Bengals at Broncos. Jake Browning should be traded to Cleveland after this game for how shit he's going to look. There you go.
Damn, got him. Uh, Dylan Gabriel's backup. Let's get Joe Flacco around the AFC North before he retires. Get him to the Bengals, and then we can send him to the Steelers, and we'll come full circle.
Just a little, yeah, just a little tour real quick.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
now far enough into the season where we know what the true duds are. I think, like at the very least, what we suspect will be true duds, like Saints Bills. That's not gonna be. That's not gonna be good. You know,
Yeah.
you speculate going in. Now we kind of know where the rough ones are on the schedule. So
I don't know, man. Even last week we had a couple that was like, why did the Panthers beat the Falcons 30-0? Like,
that
why
was
did that
great.
happen?
Maybe the Panthers are real. I mean, if the Panthers like wash the Patriots out, maybe we got to start giving them some love here. Um, well, any last thoughts on week 3 past or week 4 future here?
No, no, I will say I'm not as happy with my one-liners today as I have been. A little low energy, it's late, tired, I just feel like I let it slip there a little bit. So I apologize to my fans. I promise to bounce back next week with some more banger one-liners.
Do you write them in advance? Because I try to
No, I
rip
have
them
I have
loose.
never ever written them. I just look at
Okay,
the
me neither.
games and think.
Yeah, I feel like there's just been these games have just less defined narratives now. Like there's
Yeah,
just less obvious shit to care about. Um, but I think next week is going to be a bounce back game for us, big time. Um, all right.
I'm
In
happy
honor of
with
Jake,
Bill Chamberlain though. I'm happy with
Bill
that one.
Chamberlain was different. That was a good one. I think that was elite. And I think a tone setter. And it's kind of like Caleb Williams, right? That was your beautiful dropped dime to Luther Burden there, right? So add some consistency, and you're gonna crush the Raiders of one-liners, which I guess is me.
Yes.
um, all right. I would like to attempt a 67-yarder in honor of Jake
Mm,
Bates, trying to crush the record set by Justin Tucker.
yeah, an awesome attempt. It had the distance amazingly, just a little off to the side.
Yeah, I apparently Dan Campbell said after the game that they're going to be trying more stuff like that with at the kicking position. So I'm excited to see if we continue to bang out attempts from that far.
Ah,
All right.
don't even have to travel back from Ford Field anymore. We're already home free.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here. I've been practicing in my closet, looking at the
The
computer for 3 hours.
the jerseys are like field goal post behind you, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've just turned around my rolly chair and okay, let me do my mantra here: like, subscribe, share, enjoy the
Right.
shorts we post. And by we, I mean Damon for sure. Posts contents out there. Engage, tell your friends. Leave a 5-star rating if you're feeling generous, and a 4-star rating if you are feeling pessimistic about our prospects. But you shouldn't. This is a delay a game for this field goal kicker.
Right.
Damon's arms getting tired up there. All right, here we go. Kick is up.
Yet another kick I don't see, but I feel like I felt the camera shake, which is
It hit
interesting.
my
What did you hit
screen.
there?
I feel like I hit that felt like it might have been wide right if it had kept sailing. That's my
From
hunch.
67 and you went below camera? That has to be no good.